It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 394. Tonight I'm joined by Emmo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
And Tam.
Hello.
We are down a Grace and a Thalen, but we are carrying on, because that's what we do. And editing all of our past episodes has made me realize we've recorded with a lot fewer people.
I mean, it used to be like regular, like, I think, what's the lowest we've done? Three is the lowest we've ever done, I think. I don't think we've ever had a duo podcast. And even three...
Whenever it's down to a duo, I mostly just call it.
Yeah. Like, even 3 feels real weird.
I do think we did at one point just have me and Ash, and we were talking about potentially doing just a stream of us playing Hollow Knight Randomizer.
I mean, we did do that. That is a thing we did at one point.
I just don't think we recorded it as a podcast. Yeah. Like, I remember there was one week that everybody but Grace and I were out, and I think we hung out and streamed something similarly to that.
Diablo 3, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Diablo 3. Yep. But anyway, so we have a really long list, because what always happens when we miss an episode is that suddenly we have a bunch of things we wanted to talk about.
I mean, it's not like we didn't want to talk about things last week.
It's just
felt awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
not that this week is much better. It's just some distance has been applied. So an event that is happening currently, is, I don't know, like, it almost feels like the Summer Olympics for games.
Is it still happening? I thought, like, this was the last day.
Today, it is the last day. By the time you hear this, it will have ended. But
yes,
it is currently still happening.
It is technically happening as we're recording. It is not happening as you're listening.
It's SGDQ. Summer Games Done Quick.
Not to be confused with the other Games Done Quick.
Awesome Game is Done Quick, which is the one they do in January.
There's also a number of other ones, like Frost Fatales.
Yeah, there's Frost Fatales, there's Flame Fatales. There are several of these now. However, this is the first time they've done it in person since January 2020.
Yeah.
It's been kind of awesome.
I have not gotten to watch very much, which I feel bad about. But yeah, I did get to watch Celeste.smc run by Mark Alarm, which was rad. They had, or not run by Mark Alarm, run by Mr. Mighty Mouse. Mark Alarm was on the couch, the creator. What's been some highlights for you, Ash?
The Ocarina of Time quote-unquote TASBot run.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that's worth checking out.
It was very interesting.
It turns out we can put some ace into our Ocarina of Time now.
I mean, we've been able to do that for some time. That's how any percent runners beat it.
This is just really putting like some ace in.
Yes. Like, arbitrary code that says jump to the credits is human doable. Arbitrary code that says, not going to spoil it, is not human enterable. But yeah, they got some definitely arbitrary code running on Ocarina of Time's engine. It was fantastic. And speaking of code not intended to run in a particular engine, the Mario World race was also incredible.
Is this Mario World Kaizo?
Yes, asterisk. Like, yes, but there were some things in there that I had never seen before. There's also a level that was allegedly by Maddie Thorson.
Ah, she alleged.
And yeah, there were references to Supersonic Saves the World.
It's a very fun hack.
Only by name, though, because it had nothing to do with what was on screen.
I'm not a regular watcher, but like when I have watched it, I have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm still catching up because I missed a bunch of stuff because, work and other things.
Mm-hmm.
Been a kind of busy week. But I also know they ran one of the Mega Man games. I think Mega Man 5. Also possibly Mega Man 2, like the Genesis version.
Which will be way easier to be able to play soon, since it's going to be on the Switch Genesis pack thingy that's the subscription service.
Wait, why is Mega Man 2 related to Genesis?
Because once
Wiley
upon a time,
Wars,
they released a compilation called the Wiley Wars. That was Mega Man 1, 2, and 3.
and the
It did
timing
not
is
come out
wildly
in the
different.
US. It did not come out in the US. I believe it did come out in Europe.
Yeah, it's a PAL only thing, I think. So 50 hertz instead of 60 hertz, which to my understanding changes a lot of things. I do wonder if the Switch version will run at 50 or 60.
Probably it'll run at 60.
Which means there'll be a totally different version now
These
that
did
performs
come out in
wildly differently.
Japan, didn't they?
I don't think so. I thought it was a Europe only thing.
I have no idea. No, it came out in Japan. It came out here too, but it came out on Sega Channel, which is why nobody has it.
Okay.
So yes, it will be significantly easier to play these going forward.
I have only ever played the ROM version, and it's kind of cool. Like, it's prettier Mega Man before the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
So another thing that has come out is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And I have heard some folks have played it multiplayer.
Yes. On the worst console to do it multiplayer, but yes.
Okay, you'll have to explain that.
So it has 6-player co-op. 6-player co-op is great. You know what you can't do with a PS5?
6-player
Attach 6
anything?
controllers.
What consoles will let you do it?
Switch,
Every other one.
Every single other one.
Xbox.
Oh.
Yeah,
I assume the Windows version just doesn't care how many controllers you hook up.
I mean, no. I mean, that's a useful thing about playing on Windows sometimes.
That's kind of a bummer. How is it? I picked it up, but I have not touched it yet.
it's really fun.
It's very fun, yes.
Like, you know how we've talked about games that are like, they aren't the game you remember from being a kid, but they are what you remember from being a kid.
Yep. Like Streets of Rage 4 was that way. Because, like, it is not the game I remember as Streets of Rage 2 that I played the hell out of, but it absolutely feels like I remember Streets of Rage 2 playing like. And this is by the same people, isn't it?
It's the same publisher, but not the same developer, which is what I thought it was the same people too.
Because Streets of Rage 4 was phenomenal. And it sounds like this is a worthy
It's super good.
follow-up. Cool.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Like you could do like pass the controller. You can do, which is what we did. You've got a bunch of different characters. The turtles all feel kind of different, as well as April and Splinter. They actually give you the controls that you need, which is good. Because it was one thing that always like drove me nuts was you've got this thing, right? Where what's the word I'm looking for? You've got this thing where like, oh, you've got to throw the enemies into the boss because the boss is like the screen, that thing from Turtles in Time. But like actually making that happen was never clear, and now it is, and it's just so much better.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, you have a lot more control over everything, and they teach you all of the controls. And there's like an arcade mode, which is supposed to feel like a quarter muncher, and there's also story mode, which just feels good.
Yeah, story mode is fun. You can like move, you level up, and you get like little additional things here and there. But they're not like, it's not like a huge change. But yeah, it's very cool. Like, it's a ton of fun to play. It's the same like chaotic thing. It makes me think of, we talked at one point about or I think I saw somewhere that like somebody described Fallen Order as what if Dark Souls, but
Dark Souls, but it respects you as a person.
Yeah, Dark Souls, but it respects you as a person. This is those old quarter munching games, but respect you as a person.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description.
And like, it's amazing how much more interesting it is when that's what you got.
Well, and like, there's absolutely this style of gameplay that people seem to have latched on, which is the frustration of playing games that didn't give you a lot of great controls because the fidelity of controls weren't amazing at that time. And like, I feel like, you know, Battletoads, for example, leaned into the we're super hard and it's going to be a frustrating experience gameplay type thing, when in reality, like, I think a lot of the games that people remember as quote unquote Nintendo hard aren't because they set out to be, but just that they were doing what they could do with 4-directional movement and the controls that you could have on a Nintendo console at the time. So I greatly prefer the games that are reimaginings rather than leaning into the frustration.
Yeah. And this is definitely doing that, and it's a big improvement. Because like it was always fun going through and, you know, yes, you get your quarters munched and that's rough, but it doesn't have to be that way.
I mean, if you want frustrating gameplay, just play E.T. on the Atari. I mean,
right.
That game was bad. And I suspect that a lot of people are not actually old enough to have played it.
I know. I did. I absolutely played it, and it was frustrating as hell.
I mean,
I am traumatized by trying to get out of the pits that you fell into.
I didn't get to play it until college because I worked at a game lab and they had an Atari and ET. Because when you're teaching about games, that's an important thing to show what not to do.
They also have Superman 64?
No, nobody needs to play that game.
I played through a shocking amount of Superman 64. I think I got to the point where little Kodra was like, wait a second, this breaks my immersion. Why does every single henchman come with kryptonite bullets? That seems too common of a thing now.
There's not that much kryptonite.
Like, all of the henchmen are shooting at Superman with kryptonite bullets, and I was like, I call BS here. So I need you to realize that means I did the ring flying part at the beginning of the game. I didn't know how to say no to bad games at that point.
I know I had a limited ability when I first started playing because I tried to play Perfect Weapon and stopped trying to play Perfect Weapon. But there were some other games that I still played anyway.
So I know we have talked a lot about Diablo Immortal, but I will let our viewers know that I have officially uninstalled it from everything that I had it on. And the playing Diablo Immortal had made me, basically drove me into the arms of Diablo 3 because I really wanted that Diablo fix, and that's the game that I actually want to play. So I ended up popping back in and trying to do the seasonal content, thinking that at some point it would go away and I might as well do this season's content to get my Diablo fix. And for the most part, it went pretty smoothly. I decided to play a Crusader, and the set that you get from Hadrig's Gift is a Khans. And one of the popular builds for that is the Akon's Bombardment build. It is a bad ideas build. So the idea behind it is if you equip a certain amount of items and have a full Akon set plus some other stuff going on, every 4 seconds you rain spike barrels down from the sky that just obliterates everything around you.
So I need to very quickly clarify. Are you saying Khans as in Khans?
Akons.
Or Ekans like the Pokemon snake?
Neither.
Okay.
Akkhans, I think?
Something like that.
Akons.
Okay, I'm gonna... this is the snake set now.
So it's all about buffing your damage while you're in a specific form, and also bombardment damage. But, you know, if you put on Belt of the Trove, it basically calls down a free bombardment that doesn't involve you at all every 4 seconds. So this is great. Like, it really is a kind of brain dead set to push Greater Rifts in, which was kind of relaxing, but also frustrating at the same time, is because every 4 seconds you're a god. 3 seconds of that time you're just running around like crazy trying to stay alive. So as I'm just running around, like, it's a lot of me hitting the steed button to try and stay moving and not get killed. I was able to do a solo 90 without much issue as this set. The thing I did not factor in is that Grace and Thalen both decided to start playing Diablo 3 while I was doing this nonsense. And a thing that we've always done when somebody starts late is that you try and pull them up to get them started. Do you know it's a real bad set for doing that?
I'd imagine one where you're running around like crazy for 3 out of every 4 seconds.
Exactly. Like I said I was a very messy eater. That's how I described the set, because basically it involved me running up to the pack of named things and obliterating it with spikes, then running to the next pack of named things and obliterate it with spikes. So the last show that we recorded, I was trying to pull Grace, and many deaths were had by both of us because I can't always control the way this set works. And once you're on a high enough tier of torment, like regular bosses are a challenge for me, and my actual attacks do nothing. So it's really me waiting out the timer for this barrage from above to kill things for me. So I died to Belial. I died to so many things. I died to the Hellfire Amulet bosses, which means that Grace immediately died as well. It was interesting. The seasonal mechanic this time is every so often when you're in a greater rift, it drops this thing called Primal Screams. And if you use the Primal Screams in a cube, it opens a special kind of rift, which is basically a horde mode ring encounter kind of thing, where you try and see how many waves you can survive before getting overwhelmed. The reward is a gem, like a legendary gem, that is the level of the number of waves that you got through. And the gem itself isn't terribly useful, except for doing, I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Ascensions, where you basically add stats onto gear by eating a legendary gem and some other gems. And it basically allows you to buff individual primal items. The encounter that I did not expect is, like, at this point, I had saved all of my Primal Screams, and we ran through them on a Sunday. And I had already completed everything in the season at that point. But apparently when they coded this interaction, they forgot to check against all of the seasonal requirements for leveling gems. So in a matter of a few minutes, Thalen and Grace completed all of their conquests because we got like 120 gem or level 120 gems. And the conquest is for leveling 3 gems to 75.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Yeah, so like there were all these things. Like the second we completed our third one of these, like the screen was just flooded with achievements that the two of them got. So apparently they're coded like they're a real gem, even though they have no purpose other than for consuming in a recipe in the cube. So it was hilarious. Like, yeah, basically it took me about 2 weeks total to finish out the season. And then between me pulling Grace during the show 2 weeks ago and the next Sunday morning, they got all of the achievements for the season. And it was like the quickest season ever. So it was kind of hilarious. I don't think I would do a cons bombardment ever again. It was maybe a little too dicey for my tastes. Definitely not for ever needing to pull another human being. Normally I do something like a Demon Hunter multi-shot build that kind of just wipes the map as you go, making it easy for someone to follow along and loot things. But while I was doing bizarre things, I have gone down the Path of Exile rabbit hole.
I mean, I'm very curious about this because I know that game gets a lot more love from the developers than any current Diablo game. it just seems very, very daunting to get into.
It's real daunting to get into. I am doggedly following a build guide, and I think that is the correct way to play Path of Exile.
I mean, it's definitely...
It is a way.
Yeah, when I think about it, I can't think of any other way to start.
No.
Because there's too much. Like, this is me saying that game is too much.
There's entirely too much going on. Like, you have to understand, there is this cottage industry to making the build guides comprehensible. There is a piece of software called Path of Building that is almost required that you have on your machine to manage your build for you.
God.
And what it does is it basically breaks down the build into segments. So, like,
I mean, I'm not sure that part's necessary.
This is what you should care about until level 12. This is what you should care about until level 36. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not necessary, but I am thankful it exists, because a lot of times people will write these very intricate build guides so that, like, there's a note section where you can say, okay, well, this is the point at which you swap to this set of gems. As far as the whole love this game gets, it's like seeing what the child that gets love is like when you're the child that doesn't get any love. Because Diablo 3 really doesn't get much attention. And
I mean, this is grinding your game's only thing.
Yeah, this is their only thing. And also, so they influence the way that Diablo 3 seasons have grown over the years. Because when the seasonal content was introduced, it was basically just, it's a season, run through it with some rewards. And over time, they started adding in mechanics. And this is directly because Path of Exile has leagues every 3 months, and every 3 months, there's a super intricate mechanic going on.
They also did I don't want to say GDQ, but that's not correct. What's the game dev conference?
GDC.
GDC. They did a big GDC talk about how their design of seasons work, and basically, like, how they had to keep doing this in order to keep, players engaged so they could keep people, buying their stuff.
And it works. And the cool thing about it, though, is they're also kind of using the seasons as R&D, because like some of these don't work out and you'll never hear from them again. But some of them get rolled into the base game. So, like, consistently over time, what is available in the base game is growing because of the seasons. Like, there's so many things that I've encountered in my playthrough that only exist because they existed in a season once upon a time.
See, so here's the question so this is the game where the players get love, but the question I would then have is what players are getting the love? Because it sounds like new players might not be.
It is not a very new player friendly game. And also I feel like it has the massive problem that the first act of the game is kind of miserable.
It's like Diablo 2. I mean, wait.
Yeah, the second act of the game is better, but not that good. But then from 3 onwards, it's been great. Like, it's like they learned the tool set as they went, and they got better as they went.
That's usually how that works.
So yeah, like that first area is just kind of miserable. It is very Quake color palette.
Ugh. Everything's
muddy and dark and dank and, ocean caves, and
it's like, when did this game come out? It came out in the 2000s, right? Like
originally?
2013.
2000.
Oh wow.
Because I knew it released before I moved the first time. Because I was at home when we played this when we did the Diablo 2 game of the month. I started playing Diablo 2, stopped playing Diablo 2, and started playing this, and determined that I'd rather play this to satisfy my nostalgia than Diablo 2.
And, like, I can't even say that this is all that Diablo 2, having played quite a bit of Diablo 2 lately. It feels like this is Diablo 3 from an alternate universe.
I mean, given the timing, it was kind of a response to Diablo 3, wasn't it?
It was, but, like,
also,
I expected this to be more like okay, this is just Diablo 2 with a bunch more stuff. But no,
No.
like it's got a lot of interesting things going on.
You know that thing we just said about Shredder's Revenge?
Yeah. This feels like I remember Diablo 2.
Though, is again, this game has too many systems.
It does.
So it's daunting to get into, even though it is much kinder to the player than Diablo 2 is.
Well, and they've made some decisions that ultimately hurt this game for engaging with new players. The way skills work is really cool, but it creates this thing that they refer to in the community as socket pressure.
Oh,
Where you want to use a specific combination of abilities, which means you have to have an item with a certain combination of gem slots that are linked.
Okay. So like an item, you can just tell an item is like even possibly viable based on what sockets it has?
Yep. I am using a chest I picked up at level 6 because it has the correct sockets. I am level... God, I don't even know what I am now. I am level 45, and I have yet to find any item that has the same combination of sockets with links. And even
is it
more
possible to like craft an item with the correct sockets?
Sort of.
I know this game has too many systems, and I think crafting is one of them.
Yes, and there are ways to take care of this. However, I cannot reliably roll enough times to make this function. Every chromatic orb that I have been getting, I have been doing this with. I found an item with 4 links, and I am trying to re-roll the color of the sockets, but I can't re-roll individual sockets. I have to re-roll the allotment of sockets. So it won't unlink anything. So no matter what I do, I will have 4 link sockets, but the colors I get is totally RNG. Now, eventually, and I've actually had a friend of mine try and twink me some items to fix this problem, but I'm being stubborn. They make items that you can eventually get that are designed for twinks that are white sockets. And you can put any gem in a white socket, and there are ways to convert items to white sockets, but they're equally madness. And the real answer is most people rely on the trading system. I feel like the trading system, like if you manage to get past the sphere grid thing and still keep playing, the trading system is just where you nope.
Oh.
There is a deeply complicated system of trading where everything is converted either into chaos orbs or exalted orbs. And everything has a community price on it. And there are websites devoted to allow you to price check what you should trade things on. And there are Overwolf add-ons that allow you to interface with that while you're in game so that you can easily make trades.
Yay.
So instead, I prefer to be what they call an SSF player. Solo self-found. I am just going to roll with what I have because the trading economy thing just is a massive turnoff. The game is fun. I have enjoyed the hell out of my time playing this. Now that I'm basically being Magneto. It is not a build I would have ever built for myself, but it's fun as hell. Basically, there is a steel line of magic that is essentially Magneto magic. And what I do is I have one ability that shatters my sword into 12 shards. And then another ability that throws these and causes them to ricochet through mobs. And then I can hit the first ability again and it will suck back the shards that I just threw or create new ones if it can't retrieve them. But as they're flying back at me, it deals damage again.
Okay, that literally is what Magneto did in Marvel Heroes, and it was fantastic.
It is exactly Magneto. It's amazing. Like I look like I'm wielding a sword, but I'm not at all. I'm just hurling around pieces of metal. It's delightful. at some point I will, once I can find a red, green item, I will probably morph into explosive arrow, which has better top end clear. It's kind of like the fact that I am throwing sword shards is one thing, but mechanically I'm playing a lot like I play a demon hunter, where my movement ability is dash. I, slowly move forward, just wiping out mobs in waves. Yeah, I hope that Path of Exile 2 will simplify some of this. What I've seen of gameplay videos makes it seem like sockets aren't on items anymore.
That would be a large improvement for how this game works.
Yeah, like I think the spell gem system is really freaking cool. So the reason why you need links is gems interact with each other. So like right now I have an ability called Splitting Steel, which is the thing that shatters the sword and throws a shard. And I use another ability to support that called Vicious Projectiles, which increases the damage dealt of the projectiles by 130%. And then I have another gem that's tacked on to the chain, which is Chance to Bleed. So every time I throw one of these and it hits something, there's a chance that it applies a really nasty dot, a bleed dot, and finishes things off that don't die in the initial blast. And like there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can build it. Like there's a Shattering Steel ability, which instead of firing multiple shards in a straight line, it throws multiple shards in a fan pattern. Or you can throw Barrage Support, which ends up making it kind of a rain of arrow things of your shards. There's another thing that you can chain in that instead of throwing them in a straight line, it does the Blessed Hammer thing from Diablo, where the shards of steel circle around you. I mean, all of these things are tweaks that you can make by swapping out gems, but you're using the same basic ability. You're just modifying how it functions by what gems you've chained into it. So, like, it's really freaking brilliant, but also it's obtuse as hell. And that is why I am desperately following a build. And maybe at some point I will understand the interactions enough to be able to roll a character on my own and just wing it. I have been really surprised, though, at how chill most of the people who are playing this game have been in interactions I have had. And granted, these are friends playing the game, not random human beings playing the game. But like, this is a game that I figured would have not the best community, because when communities get that deep in the woods, that tends to end up being the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've
we've
been
also
pretty chill.
Mentioned before, like communities that aren't the new big thing are sometimes just better.
Yeah.
Also true.
I want to manage to get all the way through to maps so I can see how they compare to Rifts. I am kind of in love with the housing system, because at the end of Act 2, you get your first hideout, and then after that, you keep finding new areas that you can move into as a hideout instead. And it's basically just like, instead of going to town, you can go to your private hideout where no other players are at.
That's cool.
There's a guild system, and I don't know what all's involved with the guild system, but apparently there are guild hideouts as well.
So is there a fair bit of customization available, or is it just like...
Oh, no, you can place items until your heart is content.
Cool.
Some of which you will probably have to buy off the microtransaction shop, but by default, you've got a crafting bench and a couple vendors in your stash. And then as I've cleared content, I've picked up a bunch of other items that I can place down in my stash that are, cool looking things, but don't have any function. So yeah, it's a cool game. It is much like Guild Wars 2. It is one of those games that I have tried a bajillion times and then kept bouncing and now suddenly didn't. And honestly, I think in part, the reason why I'm not bouncing this time is all thanks to Guild Wars 2 and Tam. Because and I say that because I had some clear notions as to what I thought I wanted to play in Guild Wars 2, and the reality is that game's thing that I wanted to play that's like that doesn't look like I expected it to.
Yeah. You got the same thing going on here.
I kept trying to roll a marauder, and
the strength starting class.
Right. The strength starting class. So that's the other thing about Path of Exile that you kind of have to throw away out of your mind.
That these classes mean anything.
Right. The classes are ultimately meaningless. Like, they have names, but one is a strength class, one is an intelligence class, one is a dexterity class, and then you have hybrid classes, and all it changes is
these things are only true because of where you start on the big sphere grid.
Yep, it just determines where your entry point into the grid is. Everybody has exactly the same nodes. It's just you start somewhere different. So there really are no functional classes. It's just a bunch of builds. And like right now I'm playing a duelist.
It's kind of funny that this really is how like FF10 worked as well. Like,
yeah.
Those characters are very differentiated, but they're differentiated because they start in different spots on the grid. And because FF10 is not this game, you have lock spheres, so you're stuck in your section of the grid.
Yeah, no,
until you advance sufficiently far into the game.
This one you can build into whichever area you want, and like the build that I'm in right now.
That's a problem.
That much freedom that early on is dangerous.
There are no handrails at all from the beginning. Like, and a lot of the spheres.
This game is cool. A lot of things about this game are cool.
A lot of the descriptions don't really lead you down a path of understanding whether or not you should take it. Like, what honestly got me engaged this time is I started watching a 7-hour video explaining how to start playing this game.
That's too much.
Wow. Well, and the video was designed to be a play along as someone completes a league. And about the first hour is really info dense, and then it's just a person playing. But I put it on like a podcast one day while I was doing other work, and I picked up enough things to manage to get started. This game is weird. It's a good kind of weird, but it's also a overwhelming kind of weird. May the second revision be a little easier for new players.
I hope so.
So speaking of Guild Wars 2,
what is the second revision going? I was going to ask.
Path of Exile has a sequel announced.
Yeah, it's coming out sometime in the next few years.
There is no date.
Okay.
Someday.
I was like, I didn't know that there was a Path of Exile 2 coming out. And I mean,
this is a very insular community.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not optimistic that they're going to make a game for me.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this is a game for you, Kodra. You like minutia and optimization.
You also have to kind of like the Diablo basic gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, them adding full controller support was a big boon, and I don't know when that happened, but that happened
when did that happen?
That happened recently.
That is intriguing to me, but what I will say is like, so do I like minutia and optimization? Sure, but like I like to be able to understand why is a decision getting made? And It feels like this is a game of like, ooh, let's find all of these tricky fiddly bits and put them together. And that's how you come up with a build.
I mean, there are mathematical reasons behind all the decisions. I just don't know them.
Are they intuitive? Is the question.
No.
I mean,
they're not.
No. I mean, somebody has spreadsheeted it out in the nth degree, but
it's just that there are so many of them that they kind of add up.
There's
there are some major nodes on the passive grid. Like that's basically what the really important things are. But getting there, like the path to get there, beats me. Which ones are best for your build? Beats me.
Well, and like there's specific things that all builds have to do. Like you really need to get resistance capped, and however you want to go about doing that. but that's a thing. You can either pick up nodes on the grid or equip for it, or I do kind of want to. I don't think I want to do this, but I am curious to watch some of the people who speed run Path of Exile, because that's a thing that exists.
There was something someone was speedrunning at GDQ that I'm like, wait, I didn't even know you could. Monster Hunter Rise, that's what it was. Monster Hunter Rise up to Magnamalo, who is the big boss monster on the cover. That's not the end of that game, but it is an important, like...
Is that a first credit sequence?
Basically, it's sort of like the Zora Magdaros point in World.
So one of the things that apparently happens in this community is, you've got leagues that happen every 3 months, but at any point, say you and a couple of friends can create your own private league. And all of the world first type things that happen during a normal league are now associated with this small group of people.
That sounds cool.
So what they'll do is they'll get some speedrunners together and all create characters in a league, and then the league achievements keep track of who is in the lead for, getting through all the acts and getting to this specific thing first or whatever. So I do kind of want to watch somebody do that, like, because they can do this thing that takes most people, I don't know, a dozen hours in like an hour and a half, get from the beginning to the end of the 10 acts. So one of the other things that's happened since we last recorded is some significant changes have gone into Guild Wars 2.
Balance patch. Much needed balance patch.
Yeah.
Removed. So unintuitive fiddly bits, you say?
Yes.
Yeah. There might be a few of those.
Was mostly about sanding off a lot of the unintuitive fiddly bits.
Yes.
And that made some people real mad.
It did.
Yeah, I saw people being angry about it. And then I read the patch notes and was like, there's like a couple of things here that directly impact my character and they make things better. So I'm fine.
Yeah. So what I will say is that one of the big things is that raid comp was really the big target here.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it used to be that there's a whole bunch of abilities that provided unique. So start off. This game has a system called boons, where you give out boons, and those boons are buffs, and everyone shares the same types of buffs. Like you give out might, you give out fury, you give out alacrity, you give out quickness. And then there are buffs that broke those rules and existed outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like of the
Sun Spirit for Ranger, which is just a flat bonus to condition damage, or Frost Spirit, which is a flat bonus to strike damage,
or Warrior Banners.
Yeah, or Warrior Banners.
Or Guardian Signets, which one of their traits you could just give stat bonuses to the rest of your party.
So the real trick was let's make sure that we
make sure they cover all the boons.
Cover all the boons.
Still important.
And then also make sure we cram as many of these unique buffs into the composition as we can.
Yeah, which now keep in mind, this is a 10-player team that you're putting together, and some of these things only apply to the five players in the subset that the given player providing the boon is in.
Oh, all of them at this point, because they've all been cut down to that.
Yeah, some of them used to apply to the entire 10, but it's pretty much all just 5. So you're having to provide all of that for 2 groups of 5 players, which you can imagine how little wiggle room this gives you as to the particular classes and like elite particular specs that you are bringing to a raid. There are a lot of specs that you don't raid in that spec.
Yep.
There are some classes that you don't raid on that class.
Anyways, all of those went away. All of those now give out boons, like they always should have.
Yes. So unsurprisingly, people invested in the system as it previously stood are salty, which I don't know, deal with it. is my real, feeling on that.
I mean, And it also kind of felt like a lot of the things that were happening were kind of normalizing,
Mm-hmm.
like bringing up the worst players, and at the same time maybe pushing down the best players to where maybe it'll be more reasonable to do stuff with people that like aren't on the cutting edge.
Yeah, because one of the downsides of Guild Wars 2, I mean, in part, it's, the game's been around for a little while. The vision has changed over time, quite a bit. But some of the way the game was initially designed, and a lot of that stuff that's still around, means that there is just a massive gap between a good build and a bad build. And that gap can be due to whether you took or didn't take a single item in your spec. Like,
Beyond
not even
that,
that you didn't take the right chain, but you didn't take the right one of these particular 3 choices, like sub-choices.
even beyond that, the gap between a good build played well and a good build just played is even larger.
Yeah, because
than a
timing
good build and bad
things
build.
and using abilities in the right order and not stepping on stuff is like makes a massive difference. So, like, someone who's just trying to play the game and has been doing fine in solo content tries to play with a group, and like their output doesn't hold up, either because their spec isn't good enough, or they're not playing efficiently enough, or whatever. And unsurprisingly, a good bit of the community get real tetchy if someone that that joined their looking for group isn't playing as well as they think they should. So,
Yeah, I mean, and this has been a thing that has kept me out of attempting to dip my toes into raiding, because I am in a couple large guilds and I could do raids if I wanted to, and they even have learning nights, but like, you're expected to play a specific build from either Snow Crows or meta builds and be able to pilot it.
Mm-hmm.
None of my stuff necessarily looks exactly like that, and I don't know if I want to have one of those.
Yeah. Well, and another one of the changes. So, there's the changes, the direct balance stuff that went in. But another change that hopefully will help with some of that is it effectively adds the echo to raids, to one particular raid per week, and it rotates through the raids. But you can choose to go into that raid and have it set to empowered. And so you start out with a stack of a stacking buff, and every time you like die in a encounter, you get another stack of the buff up to, I don't remember exactly how high it can stack, but like, I think fully stacked gives you multiple 100% bonus to like health, damage, etc. So, a way to try out a raid and know that eventually you'll probably succeed at the raid, even if everybody isn't like, playing the meta.
You do still need to do mechanics.
Yeah, there's still mechanics that will just straight kill you. Don't stand in the fire.
But it puts a lot less of the pressure on the whole DPS aspect.
Yeah, because that's often, a lot of it is beating the necessary DPS to defeat the boss in, whatever amount of time.
I know I have been on the engineer forums, and boy, there is some saltiness from non-engineers about Mechanist.
Mechanist did just get nerfed yesterday or something.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they reduced the damage multiplier on a number of abilities.
Interesting.
Because they put in was it day before yesterday an update to the balance patch that tweaked a number of abilities.
I was gonna say most of my abilities were already nerfed. That was the funny thing. People were complaining about Mechanist buffs, and I was like, I don't know. I'm seeing all my stuff getting nerfed.
Yeah, it's three mech arms abilities in particular got their multiplier reduced in PvE and in PvP, and one of them in PvP in World v World too. I guess Jade Cannons was just way too good.
So Jade Cannons is actually one of the things that got buffed.
Well, they brought it back down.
They brought it back down. A little
Okay,
bit.
that's fine. I don't care. That's the power build. I'm all about the Condi. The Condi Mechanist is where I'm at.
Single edge cutters also got slightly nerfed.
Which one's that?
The one you were using. Granted, all they did was tweak the power multiplier down, so it does what it did before.
No.
And then on the other hand, Ranger got so many damage increases on so many abilities. Like I think.
Gee, I wonder if people were only taking this for the spirits.
Yeah, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different weapons got a damage multiplier to at least one ability.
Some of them were extremely significant too.
Like sword, every single ability for sword does quite a bit more damage now.
Main hand axe, same story, including one of them that did a kind of pathetic amount of damage before, now has a giant 2.5 power multiplier on it. My Ranger build is very happy about this change.
Yeah. So yeah, I think part of what contributes, I think, to people getting salty, in addition to the patch, nerfed a bunch of stuff that the very top end players were making use of, is it's been a long time since we've had a balance patch, and I do think that there is a worry that maybe it'll be another 3 years before, which that seems like you're missing. Going to happen.
The last balance patch was right when Ender Dragons released.
That's what I thought too.
Like, let's be clear, that was a large balance patch to all existing specs.
Yeah, people are saying 3 years, and I'm like,
did you miss? Were you asleep? Yeah. that was admittedly what 6 months ago.
It's
8 months
ago. A few months, yeah. But also everything that's been being said makes it sound like the intention is to roll these out on a relatively quick cadence. Like that's definitely what it sounds like.
I still think that a lot of these changes that we are seeing is trying to reduce the obtuseness of playing the game.
Yes.
So that when they open the floodgates with Steam players,
good idea.
Yeah,
it will be a comprehensible experience.
I bet you're right. Because that's definitely a lot of what this what was done here, and there's more that needs to be done, but we've got a little while yet. They have said that Steam is sometime this year, right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
not entirely sure.
Or maybe just hinted at that. But yeah, the more able new players are to get up to speed and feel like they're actually able to engage in the content, more of them will stick around. The community should be in favor of that, I should think.
This gets into a problem that I've experienced recently with a lot of different game communities. There was a very poor taste thread floating around from one of the members of Liquid, which is a high-end raid guild in World of Warcraft, basically talking about all players that can't handle the raid mechanics need to just quit playing the game. That's paraphrasing, but
do you want your game to continue to exist?
That's the problem. Like, I've seen this in so many games recently, and those hardcore players are not like the top 1%. They're the top 0.00 or 0.0001% of players. Like, they do not represent anything even vaguely close to the majority of players. Like, the casual and medium core players hold up the backs of MMOs. Like, those are the people that stick around to play the game and are ultimately the ones that, like, if your casuals are happy, you're probably gaining members.
Yep.
So
this is absolutely what I was thinking about when I was like, I feel like when you're talking about Path of Exile, I think they are catering to their hardcore players.
Oh, they are. They are absolutely catering towards the people who are already bought into the game.
Yeah, like their audience is the people for whom Diablo III is way too casual and way too colorful.
Well, and I've
seen how colorful that game is. That's not actually true.
like you would think that by Act 1 and some of Act 2, but like the tail end of this game gets real colorful.
Yeah, but by that time, they're far enough into the game that they're not going to quit because of, rainbows and things.
Something desert, something. Anyway,
I
have made that point a lot.
I do feel like that. So there's an interesting thing, especially in the engineer community, over people who are like upset about Mechanist and miss the old way you played engineer, which was you have.
So there is no kind way for me to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Those people can get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people are wrong.
Yeah, but like, they are absolutely wrong. They are absolutely toxic. They are gatekeepy as hell. And it's like, but they are also the people making the most noise.
But they are, again, engineer players. There weren't very many of them. And it was for good reason.
Yeah, no, I played engineer from release, and I mostly hated it, and I played it because I really liked the theming of being an engineer. Now I actually like playing an engineer too.
See, I also like the theming of playing an engineer, but I got that by being Iron Legion.
Yeah, too bad about their Imperator.
Yeah, war crimes. What can you do? Actually, we found out what you can do.
Yeah.
Bye. Don't miss him.
No.
But yes, it is interesting. You're like, I wonder if this is going to actually get people to start raiding for the first time. Because I feel like the problem you now have is you have a community of raiders who are just like need to get over themselves and currently are not.
Mm-hmm.
And so like now you're like relying on new groups of people organizing all on their own.
Well, one of the things that I wonder about, and I kind of want to test out, is like if as high as empowerment apparently can stack, like does this give enough leeway that you could reasonably raid with fewer than a full 10 people? Like if you could only get 7 or 8 together, maybe you could still swing it.
I mean, we're not intended to be doing fractals with 4 people or 3 people or however many we tend to do them with sometimes.
And yet.
And admittedly, we aren't up to T4 fractals, but we are pushing, like, we can reliably do almost everything on T2 with 4 people.
Yeah, and have pushed a little ways into Tier 3.
Yep. We just need to keep, I think we just need to keep going.
Oh, I agree. Like, the main thing I wonder about with raids is, like, how many mechanics are there in there similar to the ones that we've run into in dungeons that really want you to have 4 or 5 people to activate all the things or what have you?
I know there are some.
Yeah. Like, I know there are ones that require at least 6. I don't know beyond that. But yeah, I mean, that seems to be the true, like, theme of this patch more than anything is more flexibility for raiding and more opportunity for players to try it out, which again, I would think that even the hardest of hardcore raiders would appreciate that because it makes it more likely that maybe one day there'll be another raid.
Well, and like, okay, so I've got to be honest, like I listen to a lot of content for the games I play, regardless of whatever game it is. And I listen to a lot of Guild Wars 2 content. And one of the things that I keep hearing is a desire to figure out a way to get people into raids. And that's exactly what this patch seems to be trying to do, is to lower the bar of entry, create a quote-unquote easy mode raid to get people into them.
There's also the thing that happened, I don't think we talked about this. There was a patch that reworked dungeon rewards.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the recent past.
I mean, basically it collapsed all the... So up until that patch, each dungeon rewarded its own currency that went into your wallet, and then you could buy weapon and armor skins for that dungeon, some sigils and things, And
which is really the important part.
Yeah, and a thing that you needed for legendary weapons. And each legendary weapon, there was a specific dungeon that you needed the thing from for it. Well, so that was 1 currency per dungeon, which is like 8 currencies.
Yep.
They've been collapsed down into 1. And the things that you can buy with it are gated by which dungeons you have completed ever, which I think is like much better way to handle it.
Also, it is not terribly difficult at this point anyway to complete the dungeons just normally.
It is not.
Like the story paths are pretty straightforward.
Like there's a few explorations that are a little complicated. The Etherblade path is particularly so. Although
The Blade Path is dumb.
fun. Yeah,
The Blade Path is really dumb. It was introduced at a time when people said the game was too easy.
yeah, like
the
that.
developers made this.
Yeah, like that period, like tail end of season 1, early season 2, when just like everything needed to be made incredibly difficult, and has since been adjusted down multiple times. Strange that. Like I'm pretty sure it was adjusted down at some point after the first time I tried to play the game, because I'm pretty sure that's part of why I bounced off the game so hard the first time around, was because, I used a level 80 boost and it put me in Silver Wastes, and then I ran around and got murdered by Mordrum repeatedly. And I know part of it is that I'm better at playing this game now, but those Mordrum are not terribly difficult anymore.
I haven't gone and done the zones that really beat me up in a while. I should try those again.
I have on alts, and it doesn't hurt anywhere as much as they used to.
That's good.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. Like Silver Waste still kind of sucks, but it is not just instant death always and forever like it was when I backed to this game the first time.
Yeah.
Well, and again, like Thalen said, I don't know if it's just I'm better at the game than I was, or if it really is that much easier.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is I've learned the
it's
abilities
both.
that these things do, and I know how to react to them. But also, even if I do stand in the dumb for, a couple of seconds, I don't immediately fall down.
I mean, I have gone back on my thief, and I do, in fact, immediately fall down. But that's a different thing. I have learned a bit more about how gear works, I guess, also. Oh, I forgot there removed repair anvils along with this.
Yes.
So there is no actual penalty for dying anymore at all.
Yes. Using an anvil gives you a 12-hour buff that increases health and defense. It's great.
I'll be honest, I don't know how much it increases these things.
I don't
Because
know.
you can't click it off.
An amount.
But
It's like 5%, something like that.
Yeah. Like, not enough to make a huge difference, but it's worth hitting up the anvil if you go past one. And I mean, we have an anvil in the guild hall. It's right there.
It feels kind of like the birthday cake thing. It's just a thing you should click if you run across one.
Exactly. Like, and in this case, like, there's no other better buff that you're possibly replacing with it. Like, it's its own buff. You're not going to like replace a really awesome utility buff with it or something.
I say birthday cake means you're not eating raid food.
Yeah.
But I can carry around the birthday cake in my account-wide storage and drop it all the time.
Yep.
It's true. And I do, in fact, do this thing.
It's good cake.
I was severely disappointed when that was the birthday present last year, but it's a good present.
It's a great present. Yeah. I didn't realize what it did for the longest time. I thought it was
I thought it was a one-time thing.
One-time use thing, yeah. It wasn't until I started doing all the raid events and I looked up where the birthday cake comes from. Oh, I've got this. I've had it for a while.
It's like, no, it's infinite cake. What could be better than infinite cake?
So I think we got started a little bit late, and also we've had a few pauses during this show. So I'm going to try and squeeze in a real quick topic because I don't have a whole hell of a lot to talk about. But Outriders Worldslayer came out. My opinions are kind of mixed. Like, it's a $40 expansion, and it does some things, but also, like, the mission's real short, and they changed the way that the content works, and it's not as replayable as it was previously. And I guess what I mean by that is, like, so in the original campaign, you could create mini farms for yourself if you so choose, and bounce around the map by just like clicking on the banners. And there's no banners in the expansion content necessarily. Like there are banners, but they only matter during a specific mission.
Oh.
So like if you're wanting to replay anything, you basically have to go do the thing where you reset your story to a specific point, which makes it, I don't know if they wanted to stop people from creating their own farms.
I mean, probably.
Sounds like it.
So realistically, like the thing this is adding is trial of unpronounceable word.
They just couldn't call it Osiris?
It's Teria Grata or something like that, where it's a thing at it. It's the end event where you and some people do a thing, and essentially it is an event made up of a bunch of other events. So that you're in this city and you have to cross to the other side of the city, and you choose your path through the city, and each path takes you down certain encounters. Like, so some of them will be just, here's a bunch of things in a room and you got to go fight them. Some of them will be like, this is a boss that you need to fight. Some of them are wave encounters where you have to take down several waves of things, and each one you do gives you rewards. And then if you make it all the way across to fight the end boss, you get a bunch of rewards, but you also get to choose one of 3 legendaries. And it's random legendaries each time. It's just pick whichever one you want out of these 3. So it's really cool, and you can actually do this on really low world tier pretty quickly and just farm up a ton of legendaries to eat for their mods.
Do any of these legendaries make you feel less gross about playing the game Outriders?
I mean, that is a thing you have to like. That is still a thing.
I mean, that ties into my question, Bill. How many new war crimes do we learn about over the course of this story?
Yeah, so
I'm guessing it's non-zero.
It is non-zero, but this story is not about the evils of humanity as much as the previous one was. This is finding out that the aliens committed their own atrocities.
Oh, good. So we can feel okay about committing our atrocities because they were bad.
No, it ends on a cliffhanger, and I honestly am curious where the hell this is going. Cause some stuff is revealed and it's like, huh? But apparently like the alien people unleashed the anomaly in the first place, because like there was a leader that was seeking power or something to that effect. And you're trying to find out what all happened and how to learn how to control the anomaly so that maybe, just maybe, things won't be horrible forever. Probably the best feature of the expansion is if you did not already play through Outriders, you can just skip to the expansion and not play any of the first game.
Okay. Not playing the first game is attractive.
It is. Yeah, you can basically just skip to the end game. So that's a thing. Like it seems silly to pay $40 just to not play a game, but
yeah, no. The problem is, I think I can save like even more money and
exactly.
just not play this game.
Exactly. Like it's the sad thing is it's a really damn good game.
Gameplay wise, I believe you. I just didn't get through the game.
Right. Like this is a mechanically great game.
Uh-huh.
It's the rest of the parts of the game that are the problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the gameplay in the moment is like really good. Lots of fun.
Yeah. I mean, like the trial thing that they added in is probably going to be fun as hell with 4 players. Like it's a large time commitment because at a minimum, you're talking about like, I think 7 events to get across the town. But the cool thing is they've got there's this mechanic built into it to where you've got 4 tries to get to the end. So like if you die, it eats up a try and you can reset the encounter that you're on. But if you can somehow make it all the way across to the final boss, you can just not zone out and retry the boss over and over and over and get like 4 tries on the boss and get 4 sets of loot. So, you know, that's part of what makes it so lucrative for just farming a bunch of legendaries, is if you can somehow get to the boss with your 4 tries intact, you can just keep resetting and doing the boss over and getting a pick of 3 legendaries plus a bunch of other stuff. Like that's the other big takeaway that I have from this is it is so much more generous than it was. Like I've seen world drop legendaries while playing through the story campaign. Just not uncommon. They added in a new kind of purple that also has 3 perks on it that makes it almost as good as a legendary, and those drop like candy.
So this is reminding me something that we didn't talk about in Guild Wars 2, but I did do recently is I finally beat the End of Dragons final zone meta.
Hooray!
And that meta is also an intense process that is really, really fun and takes like an hour of work to get through.
Yeah. I've not done it since I've done the story mode version, but that's it. I've not gone back and done the actual meta.
The actual meta is awesome.
It is real fun.
And I'm gonna like it makes me feel so this makes me feel like I am back in vanilla WoW, or honestly, I bet for you it would feel more like old EQ raids where like you've got 100 people in a zone all working at once, only with way more coordination having to occur, which is fascinating because this is not like a coordinated group of people. There is a commander. They have the commander tag. They are usually calling out things in zone chat, but like it has 3 different Corehound pack moments where
I mean, Guild Wars really likes those.
yeah, but I need to point like all 3 of them are, if you don't succeed, this is a map wipe.
Probably.
I mean, the one where you're collecting the dragon energy is absolutely like Kaith calls out on the things like, "Whoops, we screwed up. Time to retreat," and then the map resets.
I mean, you may have hit the timer on that one. I don't know, because I've seen that one where one of them didn't get filled fast enough, and basically what happens is the filled ones lose a little bit of their bars. They don't go back down to 0. Like it is recoverable.
That was not our. Maybe we did run out of time, but
yeah, because in general, those, like, unlike the old Corehound packs, if you fail that, usually the things, if it's killing things, they usually don't go all the way back up to full health, and if it's filling bars, they usually don't get wiped out all the way to 0. So, like, if you've got enough time still on the clock,
I will say
you've got a little leeway, not much.
I was gonna say it probably doesn't even matter though, because I felt like we were in a pretty full map with a pretty competent group, and we still ended with 40 seconds on the clock, and it's a like 25-minute clock.
Yeah, 20-25. Yeah, I've completed that meta with a little over 2 minutes on, and that was with a really good group. And also, I know there have been adjustments since then, so I would bet people have been able to finish it faster than that by now. I know the amount of prep necessary got reduced some.
I guess what I'm saying is
it is an investment.
It is a very cool encounter, and it definitely feels like a big group of people all having to coordinate very well together.
Yeah. And this means it feels real good when you win.
Yes.
So does that mean you are feeding a turtle?
I am now trying to find turtle food. I'm not
turtle.
Honestly, what it really means is that I got the true ending.
It's true.
That was my entire motivation, was I wanted to get the true ending.
Now you need to complete that meta again, so that you can finish the tour of Cantha with Marjorie, right? Have you started that tour
I have
yet?
not started that tour yet.
Yeah, Marjorie's in Arborstone now. You should talk to her.
I have. I have
Okay.
not started that. I have I had been pushing that content. That character is mostly getting a break now, so that I can go back and do everything else on my Necro.
Understood.
Like I pushed my engineer pretty hard. Like I'm logging in and doing my daily PvP, but
yeah, the last few places that Marjorie wants to see are in Dragon's End, and you do need to clear the meta on a map for
nice.
at least one of them.
No, that's hilarious.
But it's a very good little side story that gives some closure and a cool title. I am an honorary Delacroix. I will possibly wear this title forever.
Ah, that's where that's from.
Also, after you've finished it, Marjorie's sisters are in Arborstone.
Oh,
They're pretty great.
that's cool.
I need to get back into doing zone metas. I had been just logging in and doing PvP enough to get my dailies, and then not doing much of anything else.
Sometimes you need a little break to avoid burnout.
Yeah, I'm currently trying to make sure I hit the Karka Queen every day. I need them shells.
Yep.
I invested in a garden plot when it was on sale at some point, and so I am growing turtle food that way.
Yep.
So I will have a stockpile of it.
That's when I had one garden plot because I had actually done the whole chef thing. And yeah, they were on sale, so I bought one more. And yes, I was growing kale for a while there. First to sell to other people, because for a while kale was 20 silver per. It's down to a much more reasonable silver and change now. And then later to feed my own turtle. I think right now I'm growing lettuce. For all I was growing zucchinis, because we're going to need a bunch of those for the guild hall.
Thalen is our master builder of the guild hall, the one who can keep track of everything.
I am not a great contributor, but I do contribute PvP potions now.
Hey,
You contribute blood.
between you and Bell, we're actually getting some of those, so that's great.
I sort of thought that was never going to actually happen.
Same.
I mean,
I actually kind of like PvP. I don't know why.
PvP makes it very easy for me to get my 2 gold each day.
Reasonable. I mean, I've done holiday PvP and enjoyed that a fair bit. Like at Winter's Day, there's PvP with it's basically a snowball fight, and then during one of them, there's the whole jumping around with dragon powers. I can't remember which holiday that's for.
But sorry for
I think that's 4
derailing.
wins.
I think it is 4 wins. Yeah. Oh no, it's New Year's. It's New Year's.
Oh.
But those are both pretty fun. So I don't know. Maybe I should try actual PvP.
Yeah, I sorry for derailing. I just, when I was hearing you describe this, it reminded me of the zone meta I just did, which was very, very cool.
It does kind of feel like a zone meta, that final event.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I mean, Outriders Worldslayer is good if you were already playing Outriders, but probably not going to change anybody's opinion on the game.
I'm really, really bummed because that type of game is something I love. I love Mass Effect 3. I actually didn't get the Legendary Edition, and one of the big contributors was I wasn't going to get new Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. But yeah, I really wanted to get into that game, and then that demo just was, it was not fun.
Yeah, I mean, the story is still mostly the same story. It doesn't magically get any less bleak.
Yeah. I'd much rather have hopeful stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of why Citizen Sleeper was so great.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, now we've really gone over. So, any final thoughts? Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.